Today, we are going to witness an epic battle between two world champions. Liren, the current world champion who recently secured the title, and Magnus Carlsen, a 5-time world champion. This game took place during the Tata Steel Chess India in the Blitz format in 2019, with a time control of 5 minutes plus 3-second increments per move. The chess battles between Magnus Carlsen and Liren have been nothing short of epic. These two world champions have faced each other multiple times, creating intense and memorable encounters on the chessboard. Magnus Carlsen, known for his exceptional strategic understanding and in-game skills, has dominated the chess world for years. As a 5-time world champion, he has proven time and again that he has a unique ability to find winning opportunities, even in seemingly equal positions. Carlsen's fighting spirit and relentless determination make him a formidable opponent for anyone. On the other hand, Liren has emerged as a strong challenger and a force to be reckoned with. His calm attitude and deep calculation have taken him to the top stages of chess. Liren's solid positional play and resourcefulness in complicated positions make him a tough competitor for any opponent. When these two chess titans clash, it's a clash of styles and ideas. Liren, playing as white, starts the game with pawn to d4. Magnus responds with e6, offering Liren an opportunity to transition into the French defense, an opening which Magnus doesn't play normally with black. However, Liren opts for pawn to c4, and Magnus counters with f5, transposing the game into a Dutch defense. After a few more opening moves, Magnus establishes a stonewall structure with pawns on d5, f5, and e6. Sensing an advantage, Liren decides to trade his bishop early on by moving his bishop to f4, expecting the exchange with Magnus's strong bishop on d6. Magnus accepts the trade and doubles the pawns on the f-file for Liren. Liren, content with the trade, acquires a good black bishop and isn't concerned about the doubled pawn. As the game progresses, Magnus castles his king on the short side and pushes his pawn to b6, aiming to activate his passive c8 bishop by maneuvering it to a6. At this point, Liren holds a slight edge with a decent position. However, we can't underestimate the 5-time world champion's ability to equalize. After careful consideration, Liren plays knight to e5, putting pressure on the c6 pawn. Magnus defends the pawn by placing his bishop on b7. Liren brings his rook to c1, planning to move his queen to a4, and later another rook to d1 after castling. Liren executes queen to a4, attacking the c6 pawn, and Magnus captures the knight on e5, replacing it with his knight on e4. Now Liren faces a critical decision, whether to capture the knight or not. Opting to capture the knight would be a mistake, as it would open the f-file for black, allowing Magnus's queen to get on h4 and create significant trouble for white. Liren decides against capturing the knight, instead opting to trade pawns in the center and bringing his knight to e2, setting up a potential move to f4. Magnus carefully evaluates his options. He can choose to bring his queen to h4, attacking the f2 pawn and initiating an attack on the king side. Alternatively, Magnus can play a5, enabling him to bring his bishop to a6. Magnus continues to keep thinking, as his time is running down from 4 minutes 30 seconds to less than 3 minutes now. What is he even thinking? Only very few can put this much pressure to Magnus Carlsen very early in the game. Liren, the Chinese Grand Master, has created this pressure on Magnus exceptionally well. After 2 minutes of thought, Magnus plays rook to c8, which turns out to be a big blunder. Without worrying too much, Liren captures the c8 rook. Magnus now thinks whether to recapture the rook with his queen or bishop. If he takes with the bishop, he would lose a pawn on a7 without much compensation. On the other hand, capturing with the queen could offer some counterplay after queen to a7 followed by bishop to a6, allowing the black queen to get into white territory, with queen to c2 as the next move. After more than a minute of consideration, Magnus captures the rook with the queen. So far, Magnus' play has been uncharacteristic. He has taken 3 minutes for the last 2 moves, and has been fidgeting with the pawn while thinking, indicating that he is under tremendous pressure. With time and position not favoring the 5-time world champion, can he stage a comeback as he typically does? On the other side, Liren remains calm and composed, making it challenging to make a comeback from here. Let's see if Magnus has some magic up his sleeve. After Magnus captures the rook, Liren immediately plays pawn to f3, putting pressure on the e4 knight. Magnus counters by attacking the white queen with his bishop and then brings his knight back to g5. Ding Liren calmly plays his king to d2, allowing his rook to become more active and potentially reach c1. In the next move, both players bring their rooks to the open file, and Ding Liren places his knight on the strong f4 square. Magnus prevents the white queen from entering his side by playing knight to f7. Ding Liren swiftly responds by moving his bishop to f1, further activating his pieces. The beauty of Ding Liren's game today is that he is playing his moves naturally and quickly, without much trouble. Magnus is down to less than 30 seconds on the clock, and his pieces are not as active. Very few players in the world can make the 5-time world champion sweat like this, and Ding Liren has done it effortlessly so far. Can he upset the 5-time world champion today, or will Carlsen find a way to escape defeat? With just 15 seconds remaining, Magnus plays knight to d8, and white responds with bishop to a6, aiming to trouble the c8 rook. Magnus blocks the attack with his bishop. White attacks the queen with the bishop on b5, and Magnus once again blocks the attack with his bishop. Ding Liren repeats the moves, but it's unlikely that he's content with the draw. He seems determined to win this battle. Against a player of Magnus Carlsen's caliber, it's crucial to finish the games rather than settling for a draw. Ding Liren avoids the repetition of moves, trades the rook first, and Magnus takes the rook with his bishop to prevent the white queen from entering the e7 square. Ding Liren trades his bishop on c8 as well, and then brings his queen to e7, significantly increasing his chances of defeating the 5-time world champion. With a mate-in-1 idea on e8, Magnus must play pawn to h6 to create some space for his king to escape. Magnus Carlsen appears visibly unhappy with this position, which is seen on his face. Ding Liren checks with his queen on e8, and then brings his knight to g6 with the option of playing knight to f8 and e7. Magnus moves his queen to c4, while Liren checks on f8 with his knight and then delivers a discovered check by moving his knight to e6. At this point, white can easily capture the knight on d8 and gain material advantage. However, Ding Liren takes some time to search for checkmating patterns. When presented with an opportunity against players like Magnus Carlsen, it's crucial to finish the game quickly rather than prolonging it unnecessarily. Ding Liren decides not to capture the knight and delivers a check with his knight on f8 after thinking for 30 seconds. He follows it with another check on g6, and Magnus moves his king to the only available square on h7. Now, Ding Liren plays the crucial move of taking his knight to e7, threatening queen to g8 checkmate. After a few more checks, Ding Liren moves his king to h3, securing a safe square for his king to avoid further checks. With no more checks available for Magnus and just 4 seconds on his clock, Magnus Carlsen, the 5-time champion, decides to resign the game. It was a remarkable victory by Ding Liren, who showcased his calm and composed playing style against one of the greatest chess players of all time.